Eh, tes tes. Oh ya.
Tes tes masuk. Tapi nanti nggak mantul. Aku mati ini. Oke. Bapak dan Ibu. 1, 2, 3 masuk. Mana Pak dan Ibu? Apakah perlu lebih dahulu? Sudah waktu dibuka? Oke, lagi ya.
Assalamualaikum
Assalamualaikum
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon, everyone.
Salam sejahtera.
Salam sejahtera.
Om Swastiastu.
Swastiastu. Namo
Budaya.
Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan.
We
We apologize
for keeping you all
waiting
because there are
because
some technical errors. So
let
we start our today webinar. First, I would like to greet Your Excellency, Deputy Director for Finance and General Affairs, Dr.
Ilham Wahyudi, SAMSE, Your Excellency, Head of the Master's Program in Agricultural Industrial Technology, Universitas Jambi, Mrs. Dr. Dewi Fortuna, STP MSI, Your Excellency, Chief Officer of PATPI Jambi, Mr. Adion Nizori, STP MSc PhD, and also all participants joining us from different places around the world. Thank you for taking the time to be here. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah who has been giving us guidance, happiness, healthy, and mercy so we can attend and participate in this event without any obstacles. Today's webinar topic is nanotechnology-driven transformation towards sustainable and equitable future food systems. This webinar is held by collaboration of Master Program of Agricultural Industrial Technology, Universitas Jambi and PATPI Jambi. And my name is Medina Alia Rahmawati, and I will be your host for today's session. Before we start today's webinar, let me recite some pantun. Ya. Burung kecil hinggap di ranting. Berkicau merdu sepanjang hari. Teknologi nano kecil nan canggih, dampaknya besar untuk negeri. And next, we will sing the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, and Universitas Jambi Hymne. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up.
Universitas Jambi mendidik insan berbudi, bertakwa pada Tuhan yang Maha Esa, berbakti mengabdi untuk pertiwi, disiplin tinggi sirap dalam jiwa. Meningkatkan usia di bidang masa serentak beragam abadi.
Ladies and gentlemen, you can please sit down. And next is the prayer session led by Mr. Fatkul Rahman, STP MSc. For Mr. Fatkul Rahman, You can start the prayer session.
Bismillah. Cik.
Oke, jelas suaranya terdengar.
Oke. Baik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us bow our head for a moment. Pray to God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, so that our international webinar can be precious to all of us. I will lead this prayer based on the teaching of Islam, and those who are not Muslims, you are pleased to pray according to each of your beliefs. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Hamdan syakirin, hamdan na'imin. Hamdan yuafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazidah. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karimi wa adimi sultanik. Allahumma shalli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Allahumma ighfir lil mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat innaka sami'un qaribun mujibu da'wat wa yaqdiyal hajat. Allahumma ighfir lana dzunubana Allahumma ighfir lana wa liwalidayna wal mu'minina wal mu'minat wal muslimina wal muslimat al ahya'i minhum wal amwat. Allahumma arinal haqqa haqqan warzuqna ittiba'ah wa arinal batila batila warzuqna ijtinabah. Rabbana hab lana min azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a. Allahumma inna nas'aluka ilman nafi'a. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzaban nar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Fatkul Rahman. Next is opening speech by Chief Officer of PATPI Jambi, Mr. Adion Mizori, STP MSc, PhD.
Hello? Anyone can hear my voice? Bisa terdengar suaranya? Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Honorable Vice Director of Postgraduate School of Universitas Jambi, Dr. Ilham Wahyudi, and Honorable Head of Master Agro-Industry Study Program, Dr. Dewi Fortuna, and our distinguished invited international speaker, Professor Rabah Bakerup, Research Director of French National Center for Scientific Research, Université Lille, French. Welcome, Prof. Rabah. Are you here? Prof. Rabah?
Yes, I am here. Yes, thank you. I'm here. Yes. Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Yes, we can hear you, Prof. Rabah. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Allow me to begin by expressing our deepest gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, God Almighty. Through His blessing, we are able to gather here in good health and strong spirit for 2025 International Webinar Series 1. On behalf of Indonesian Association Food Technologies PATPI Jambi, in collaboration with Master of Industrial Technology or Agro-Industry Study Program, Universitas Jambi, it's a very pleasure to warmly welcome all of you. It's an honor to deliver speech in this important event. I certainly hope this moment becomes not only formality, but meaningful opportunity to for share commitment as we begin for our programs today. The theme of the international webinar, Nanotechnology-Driven Transformation Toward Sustainable and Equitable Future Food System. This is not only the topic for this discussion, it's a call for change and a challenge as educators, researchers, and policymakers to rethink again that nanotechnology can reshape the future of global food system in the 21st century. This international webinar provides a platform for dialogue, collaboration, and exchange of ideas. We are truly fortunate to have Professor Rabah here as expertise in nanotechnology and scientific innovation. And will we reach our understanding about nanotechnology? His presence today, even virtually, will give as a commitment and also advancing in global knowledge. I will also express my appreciation to everyone who contribute to making this event possible, to organizing committee under team leader Tri Rizky STP MSI. Thank you for Pak Rizky to organize this event, dedication and hard work for a few days. And then to our university rector, Professor Helmi, even not present here, but he mentioned give a strong support for this program. And thank you also for Dr. Dewi as our collaborator for this program. Also, thank you for Dr. Dwi as Secretary Program for this event, make it happen in postgraduate, this event. And thank you for all participants who present and give meaningful to this international webinar series 1. We extend our apologies on behalf of the committee for any shortcoming experience maybe during this webinar. We recognize this issue may have affected the comfort continuous of the session. We appreciate your understanding, and we also hope for the future we will more collaborate and improve this event. I closing with the pantun, with the poem. I love to say something pantun, Professor Rabah. We call it pantun here in Jambi. Jalan-jalan ke kota Jambi, banyak rumah berbaris-baris. Moga dengan international webinar hari ini banyak ilmu yang didapat dengan gratis. Okay, thank you very much. Let us make international webinar to connect each other and bring the new idea and new real impact for the future. Again, thank you very much for your attention. Wishing you all productive and inspiration, and thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yeah. We invite also for Vice Director Postgraduate also to open officially for this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Adian Nizori, for your fabulous opening speech. And now, opening speech by Mr. Dwi Ristiadi, SP MSc PSD, the Secretary Program of Agro Industry.
Chapters, Bapak Adian Nizori, PhD.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Master Program in Agricultural Industrial Technology. This study program was established in 2023 and is accredited by PATPI. And its aim to develop globally competitive graduates and researchers in agro-industrial technology. Our program offers 3 concentrations, which are agro-industrial technology, agro-industrial management, and agro-industrial process engineering, supported by experienced faculty members and strong partnership with industry and research institutions. We welcome professionals, industry practitioners, and graduates seeking to deepen their expertise to join us in master program and take part in shaping the future of agro-industry. Finally, I would like to extend my sincere appreciations to PATPI Jambi chapter and our faculty members and all organizing partners for their support in making this event possible. To all participants, thank you for being here. We hope today's sessions enrich your knowledge and inspire collaborations. Thank you, and I wish you a productive and insightful webinars. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
And to all participants, now this is the time for the webinar session. This webinar, we apologize for the mistake. And then opening speech by Deputy Director for Finance and General Affairs of Master Program Universitas Jambi, Mr. Dr. Ilham Wahyudi, SAMSI. For participants, we need to wait a little. Okay, since Mr. Ilham is still doing something else, now let's start open the today's webinar. Nanotechnology driven transformation towards sustainable and equitable future food system is officially started. Okay. And to all participants, now this is the time for webinar session. This webinar will have Miss Insinyur Anna Anggraini, STPMP as moderator, and Professor Rabah Bukherup as the speaker. Now, Miss Anna, you can lead the discussion. Oh, before that, I will read you the curriculum vitae of Insinyur Anna Anggraini, STPMP. She finished her master program in agricultural industrial technology at Universitas Andalas. Her first career position after graduating was a permanent lecturer at Universitas Lancang Kuning, Pekanbaru, Riau. During her tenure at Universitas Lancang Kuning, she was actively involved in various programs organized by the Kemendikti-Saintek. In June 2025, she officially received her appointment as a civil servant or PNS at Universitas Jambi, where she served as a lecturer in Department of Agricultural Technology, study program of Agricultural Industrial Technology. She also had the opportunity to mentor students for the National Competition Week 2024, where her team won second place at the national level in the category SI competition and innovation and technology in sustainable agriculture. Right now, we invite Insinyur Anna Anggraini Karim, STPMP, to lead the session.
Okay, thank you, Miss Medina. Good afternoon, Mr. Rabah, Prof. Rabah. Are you there? Okay, good afternoon,
I am
ladies
here.
and
I didn't
okay,
hear.
yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Before we begin, I may confirm that my voice is clear and the screen is visible. Yeah. Thank you. Please keep your microphone mute and use the chat box on for the question. Okay, I will open the webinar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Good afternoon, the guests and participant. My name is Anna Anggraini. I will be your moderator for today's international webinar entitled Nanotechnology-Driven Transformation Toward Sustainable and Equitable Future Food System. Thank you for all joining with us. The webinar highlight how nanotechnology can strengthen sustainable food system, improve food safety, reduce waste, and promote equitable access to food through scientific innovation and collaboration. It is a great honor to introduce. It is a great honor to introduce our keynote speaker, Professor Rabah Bukherup. He is a director of research at CNRS, France, affiliated with the University of Lille. His research focus on nanomaterial, biosensors, nanomedicine, photocatalysis, environmental and energy storage. His extensive publication and global contribution make him a leading figure in nanotechnology research. Okay, now it's our great pleasure to invite Professor Rabah Bukherup to deliver his keynote speech. Professor, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, I can share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet. Now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, then it's a great day. Okay. Assalamualaikum. First, I would like to thank the organizers for providing me a chance to present of our work, actually some of our work, because it's not only on agriculture, and how we can use nanotechnology, to improve and make sustainable agriculture. So the title of my, just to make it here, perfect. Yes. Yeah, of my presentation is nanotechnology for safe and sustainable agriculture. But first, I will just give a very short presentation of our institute. You can see the next slide. It's okay?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, sorry, Prof. Can you open the
Okay.
open the video?
You can hear
Camera?
me?
Yeah.
It's okay?
It's okay. Yeah. Can you open the camera, Prof?
Okay.
Okay.
So the camera, I can open the camera. The only problem I think is because the internet, I think sometimes it's not a very, yes. It's okay?
It's okay.
It's okay, Prof. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I work here at the Institute of Electronics, Microelectronics and Nanotechnology. So indeed, you can see there is the word nanotechnology, and it's indeed one of our main focus in the group on how to use nanotechnology for different applications. We have different applications. I will come back in a second, indeed, on what we focus. So this institute is quite people, including researchers, professors, engineers, and technicians, but also visitors, PhD students, and postdocs. So we're located here in the north of France. It's about just an hour away from Paris and less than 50 minutes from the airport. And as you can see, as I told you, this is a platform, a technology platform. We have about 1,500 square meters of clean room facilities. The reason, of course, is because people make devices essentially. So you need really to have a clean environment. You cannot just do that in any environment, especially for sensors. And sensors, it's indeed represent one of the main feature for what you call precision agriculture. So later we'll just give probably very quickly one slide on indeed how one can use devices and sensors to monitor different aspects of agriculture. So this is the activities of our group. In our group, we mostly focus on materials and nanomaterials, particularly nanoparticles, but it could be nanowires and any type of nanostructures. And we develop surface chemistry to provide the functionality to make these nanomaterials smarter. And then indeed, we apply this for different applications, either drug delivery for of diabetes, but also for killing or fighting bacterial resistance, as antiviral, antifungal, and specifically this I will give an example indeed in the context of agriculture, but also as adjuvant in mostly for biomedical applications. So we also have activity in sensing, essentially focused on biosensors, either electrochemical, but also a optical, like surface plasmon resonance, localized surface plasmon resonance sensors. Okay. When we talk about technology, this is just really the basis. I know probably a lot of you do know exactly what nanotechnology or nanostructure means. But just to have to keep in mind, nano is something between 1 and 100 nanometers. Anything that exceeds 100 nanometers is not considered as a nano. This is just a rule. You cannot, if you make even 110 or 150 nanometer size object, you cannot consider that as a nanomaterial. Okay, this is the limit of nano. Then it becomes more like a sub-micron size, okay? Why nano is important and interesting? Because This is just a very nice image I took indeed from various papers. This is, you all know bulk gold. You see the shiny color, but interestingly, if you make nanoparticles now after gold, you see you can have different colors: blue, green, yellow, yellow, orange, and orange here up to red. This is just because depending on the size and on the physics, of course, then you can make from something that doesn't emit light at all, something that becomes really emitting light. So now I can make just because the nanoparticles, and depending on the size of the nanoparticles, I can make different objects of different colors. And this is very important, for instance, for imaging, for sensing as well. So the point or the message you can take out of this, indeed, the nanomaterials have and exhibit completely different properties from their bulk material, okay? So because you have a high surface area, you have a quantum confinement effect, so completely different properties. Initially, nano technology was essentially used in nanomedicine for treating, detecting, this is diagnosis, for therapy, as a carrier of drugs to treat different diseases, to detect, but also to treat certain, this is mostly for different devices for implanted in the body. So this is where it started. So initially, all nanotechnology was applied essentially for medicine, to improve indeed the output, to reduce the side effects, but improve the imaging. So there's a lot of a little bit later, but you will see there are a lot of studies now then there are more and more indeed in this area of applying nanotechnology in agriculture. So what is the advantage of using nanotechnology, especially nanomedicine? But this will be the same exactly for agriculture. Why? Because in agriculture also you need to, to deliver fertilizers, pesticides, a lot of things to improve indeed the crops and the plants, and it's exactly the same principle. So nanotechnology improves actually if you have some drugs which are not water soluble. The fact that you will load them on nanoparticles, they will render those drugs water dispersible. So we start with something which is not water dispersible to something which is now water dispersible. You can encapsulate, so it means you can enhance the stability through encapsulation. Now we can imagine a drug which is a drug could be also a biomolecule like RNA, DNA, protein, peptides, which are not very stable under different conditions in environments. So now what you can then, you can protect them. So you can put them inside a nanoparticle, you can encapsulate them. And doing that, you improve the stability. Because you have a high surface area and you achieve a much better performance, so you reduce the amount of the drug. Now you can, when you use nanoparticles, sometimes you divide by 10, 100, even few hundred. Also, the toxicity or side effects. Now, a drug that initially was, I would say, does have side effects. By using nanoparticles, you can reduce the amount that thus you reduce the side effects, and it becomes favorable for disease treatment, especially when you have something to treat over a period of time, which is a long time. Additionally, nanoparticles can be also, because you can add functional groups here, you can add peptides, proteins, DNA, small molecules. They can recognize receptors, so we can target the tissue. So we can exactly deliver the drug at exactly the tissue or the organ I want. Or if you just take a normal drug through the oral or through the IV, if you inject it, the drug doesn't have any targeting. Okay, it will go, certainly will reach the site of disease, but in a smaller amount, it's in a smaller concentration. However, if you put a nanoparticle and you add to the nanoparticle something which is actually recognizing receptor in this tissue or cell, then everything would accumulate on the diseased site, and that would enhance the efficacy and the performance of the drug. So all these attributes and benefits make indeed nanotechnology very important whenever you want to carry a drug or an active molecules to a given disease or site to treat or to release any active component or a drug, or it could be pesticides, it could be anything, okay? This is just very quick, I would say, overview or history. You know, I guess you all know liposomes, because this is the most studied, I would say, nano type or carrier in nanomedicine. Why? Because it resembles, you know, the cell membrane, so it's much easier, it's biocompatible. You can encapsulate both hydrophilic drugs. This is started in early 60s. You see the liposomes. It's very old history in nanomedicine to use nanocarriers, okay? And I think I stopped here 2011, but we can go even 2021, when we had COVID. You know, if you had a vaccine, the vaccine was using actually lipid nanoparticles. The reason why, because the RNA vaccine, RNA is not isolated in the lipid nanoparticles to make it stable, and then of course you reach much better efficacy in terms of vaccination. So just to tell you indeed that in nanomedicine, often either we use liposomes or lipids. That's the most important, or protein-based nanoparticles. But of course, this does not apply for agriculture, because it's probably much more expensive to produce lipids, and some of them probably will not be viable for the plant itself or for the soil. So I will give other examples indeed that are more suitable for agriculture. You see, there are various nanoparticles. So you can imagine the unlimited number of nanoparticles. It could be from different materials. It could be from carbon. It could be from metal. It could be from metal oxide. It could be from anything. It could be polymer type. It could be bio-sourced polymer. It could be plastic. So it could be anything you can imagine. Viruses. It's another example, very much used, iron oxide. And you can also have different forms, the size. So we can play with a lot of things. So each time you can provide a very different nanoparticle. Different functional groups, charges, different biomolecules on the surface, especially if you want to target a very specific cell compartment in the body or in any other type of targeted, where it is, the targeting is important. So there's a lot of, indeed, a limited number of nanoparticles, but not all of them could be applied for either in nanomedicine or in agriculture. Of course, some of them are more in catalysis, in industrial processes, where indeed then the toxicity aspects are not the same, do not have the same impact as if you treat a plant or an animal or human being, okay? So the choice will be made indeed depending on the application. So how do you make nanoparticles? I took something which is just very simple, a bulk material, then you cut it down to smaller ones until you reach the nanoparticles. It's simple. I don't know if you grind coffee at home before. I remember grandmother will take the grains of coffee and you grind it until you get smaller and smaller particles. You can do exactly the same from a bulk material until you cut it down until you reach a small nanoparticle. Or the opposite way, you can use what you call this is more a self-assembly or a chemical building. You start from different elements or small elements, and you add until you reach nano. Like when you build a house, this is it's a brick, one by one by one, and of course you build the wall, then the whole structure. So these are the two different approaches, top down or bottom up. I start from the big and make a small, or from a small, very small, and I go bigger, okay? I give you two examples exactly on this and how easy this is, more a physical technique, this is more chemical aspect, okay? This is one example. I think if you want to see indeed how this works, you can go to this video. You will find a very nice video. This we have used indeed in the laboratory to make nanoparticles. It's the same. The principle is simple. You have here you have a ball. You have very small here balls of made out of zirconium oxide, but it could be anything. It could be also silica or anything, but it has to be hard mechanically. So what do? You just this is ball milling. So you add then your material, and here it's a polymer, and you have a very nice and high energy. Then you break the polymer into small particles. And if you do that, you optimize, of course, you can end up from macroparticles with nanoparticles. So easy, simple. You have a device here, and you can make grams from this. You can also scale up. You can even make a kilogram scale if you want. That's the reason mostly what we have used this industrial level. You know, in agriculture, you cannot use macrograms. You have at some point, if you have to work in the fields, you have to use probably kilograms. And indeed, a lot of chemical techniques would not allow you to do that. It would be so expensive, or it would be time consuming. So you have indeed to think about a technique which is easy to make. And that's exactly what I have applied. And we used this because for agriculture application, but also for food. In food, indeed, also you need to provide and be able to produce a large amount of nanoparticles. Then you sonicate this in water, and you have a very nice dispersion. This is a sodium alginate, but you can make starch, you can make chitosan, you can make any biopolymer, okay? These are the nanoparticles. Again, they're not supposed because they're over 100 very small. Some of them are higher than 100 nanometers. So we have an average diameter which is about 110. Negatively charged, you see, you always actually run what you call dynamic light scattering and zeta potential measurements to determine the surface charge, because this is when it is stability of the nanoparticles in water. The reason, because negative will repulse. You have a repulsion between the negative charges or the positive charges. So the particles will not stick to each other and aggregate and form larger particles. Okay, this is really important. The value normally you should achieve to have a very nice colloidal.
For all attendant, Professor Rabah is having some technical issue, so we have to wait for some minutes.
Hidupkan video yang kita.
Networking trouble, Prof?
Okay, now.
No? Cannot?
Yeah.
Yes? It's okay?
Yeah, it's okay, Prof.
It's okay now, Prof. Thank you.
No? It's okay? Oh, okay. Thank you. Sorry, I don't know what's happening, but it is disconnected. Oh, this is okay. Now it's blocked. Okay. Why? Yeah, I have to start maybe the okay. Okay. I don't know why it's blocked. You can hear me?
Yes, Mister.
No? You can, okay. Yeah, then I
Yes.
have to start I have to open again and share my screen, and hopefully this time it will go, okay? I hope you didn't forget what I said previously. Okay.
Yeah.
You can see my screen? No? Ah.
Yes, we can see here, Prof. Thank you.
Okay, if you can see, then it's okay. Perfect. Okay, so now I told you here, you remember this. So I will just give you an example indeed how you can improve the drug performance of these alginate nanoparticles by using alginate nanoparticles. This is a work done by a PhD Dr. Nora Hazim. So what we took this colistin, which is a peptide used in farming. I actually use it either chicken or pig, but it's used in for beef, mostly for animal farming. And the reason for that is because this colistin has a antibacterial activity against gram-negative E. coli. Okay, but of course, if we use a lot of this colistin, and when we use a lot of colistin, then there is a development of resistance. It means then the bacteria would recognize the colistin and develop resistance. And if it's the case, then economically, then it's really terrible because we will lose a lot of the animals when we do the farming because they will be infected by E. coli, and the colistin will not be effective, or you have to use a huge amount. And if you use a huge amount, then of course you release that in the soil and in nature, in the water, then of course you pollute also water. Okay? So one of our approaches is to develop, indeed, to see if we combine the colistin with nanoparticles, if we can increase the performance. It means we can reduce the amount. And that will be indeed seen from what you call the minimum inhibitory concentration. If we are able to reduce that, then it means we are able to reduce the amount of colistin to overcome the resistance of the bacteria to this antibacterial peptide. Okay, so we see the different E. coli. We have some of them are resistant, some are not. And when you just use colistin, you have this MIC values here. But when we combine the colistin with nanoparticles, you see you reduce by 8, by 2, by 4. So we can really gain. It means now, by just combining exactly the same molecule with nanoparticles, I can enhance the performance and decrease the amount of colistin, okay? Then we did even better. We said probably we can even use some of the component of essential oils, menthol, carbapenem, geraniol, prenazole. The big problem of these molecules, they are not water soluble. So if you want to use them in any application, they become really a problem. So, however, if we combine them now with nanoparticles, then they become water dispersible. So because the nanoparticle is very nicely dispersed in water, so when you actually load these molecules on the nanoparticles, everything becomes water dispersible. In addition, these molecules are very cytotoxic. I don't know if you know essential oils, of course, from plants. They are used in from ancient times in different cultures and countries. But in
Gimana? Masih ngajar, masih bimbingan di Lille. Kayaknya akhir tahun ini selesai di Lille. Maksudnya kayak Bapak. RS di atas itu IMN. Tapi IMN tuh lebih gede lagi.
Susah bahasanya, Pak.
Itu nama di
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya ke Jerman sebentar.
Waalaikumsalam.
Ada lagi program Erasmus Bendus.
Nampaknya narsumnya terputus ya. Saya mohon maaf tadi ngajar ini.
Tanda tangan.
Dan
Oh iya,
saya
iya
izin
Pak,
live
tidak
dari-
apa-apa Pak. Ini
Ya,
Profesor Rabahnya sedang ada trouble Pak. Jadi sedang menunggu beliau.
mungkin
untuk
sedang
kembali.
mati lampu di Prancis.
Kita ya. Prancis ini. Ya, beliau kan dari Jepang ya kayaknya.
Iya, lagi di Jepang.
Lagi di Prancis.
Baik, saya izin live Bapak Ibu ya, karena saya masih lanjut mengajar ini.
Oh iya, baik Bapak. Terima kasih atas kehadirannya.
Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih Bapak.
Kita connect kita lancar ya. Berarti di sana ya. Bapak Ilham tadi yang ngomong.
For all participants, Professor Rabah is having some trouble, so we need to wait for some minutes.
I do in Australia, or in New Zealand, yeah. Pak Dwi
That is yours. Yeah, we're waiting for Saraba. But then do something. Stop video na.
Okay, I think technology.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, welcome. It's Professor Abah.
Oh,
You may
sometimes
continue.
technology is not working. It's okay. Now you can see my screen.
Yes.
Not yet, bro.
Ready.
Already ya? Ini belum.
Di situ udah.
Yes.
Still not
It's okay.
appearing. Not yet.
Oh yeah, nah, cek itu video namanya tadi saya.
And now?
No.
You can see the screen?
Okay. It's already appearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I stopped here, no? You remember?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, indeed, if I absorb these compounds which are not water soluble on the nanoparticles, you see, I can use only about 10%, and I can reach very low MIC values. It means I need only a very small amount to kill the bacteria. So this is really important because these molecules initially are toxic and they're not soluble in water. Now I make them water soluble, but also improve and enhance their activity. Okay. The same with lactic acid. You know, lactic acid comes from lactic bacteria. It means if you drink the milk, that is essentially you have lactic acid. So we wanted to see indeed if lactic acid, if we combine it with colistin just at 15%, very small amount, if we can reduce indeed the MIC value, and indeed we divide by about 2 the MIC value just by adding a small amount of this lactic acid. Then we checked all different colistin with different imines like spermine, spermidine, piperazine, and of course you see they're not as effective as the acids or the component of essential oils, okay? Most important, and this is really a very important aspect, is, you know, when you take something oral, through the oral way, you know, it goes into your intestines and your stomach. And there, the drug will experience a decrease and increase of the pH. So we wanted to see, indeed, if now the colistin, you see the colistin alone, if you just take it through the oral and you submit it to different pH and different enzymes, you see the MIC value increases. Why? Just because it experiences some degradation, then it becomes less effective, okay? Now, if the same colistin, if we load it on nanoparticles, you see the MIC value is still relatively quite low, but if we add lactic acid or menthol, it's even very, very stable. So what do you learn? The message to take is that the nanoparticles not only will reduce the amount of the colistin we use, but also will stabilize the colistin when we take it through the oral route, okay? And in addition, these nanoformulation are not toxic at all. This is a cell viability, which is 100% everywhere, which is actually, while if you take the same colistin, you see you have some toxicity, which is what you call an average toxicity, about 30% death of the cells, which is not the case indeed when you have the nanoparticles. Okay, it doesn't matter. So what we did next, indeed, then we did on the real in vivo samples, we take piglets because this indeed, if they're always treated by colistin, but now what we did, we used just colistin and colistin loaded on nanoparticles. And indeed, you see, we can reduce the amount of colistin by more than 60%. So this becomes very important because economically it's more viable to combine the colistin with nanoparticles, but also you reduce the amount, but also you reduce the potential of development of resistance of E. coli to the colistin, okay? This is all the work I have done actually previously with my colleagues in microbiology, indeed, on how to use nanoparticles to improve the activity of antimicrobial peptides, okay? Then it's the same. What we do, this is very important also potentially not only for animal, but it could be for human and plants, you know, it's in One Health, is to use presently, you know, the antibiotics or with something that comes from natural or from nature. And this is indeed the cheese, the traditional. Stopped. Why? It stopped. It's okay.
Professor Rabah, we just had some electricity error, but now we are trying to fix this first.
But ya tetap aja.
But you can continue your presentation, Professor. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now I was telling you, indeed that the ideal, because you will have problems with the antibacterial, antimicrobial in general, antifungal and everything, it will be resistant. So it's really a good time to look for alternatives. And one alternative is that to look indeed at peptides produced from lactic acid bacteria. Lactic acid bacteria, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's something you find in the dairy products, milk, cheese. Then you have the bacteria, and this bacteria produce actually peptides. And these peptides, they have activity. It's just the way bacteria fight, you know. If they other bacteria, they want to kill them. So they produce a defense, like a weapon, to kill the other bacteria, okay? So the idea in how we can replace the colistin now with this new antibacterial peptide that comes from cheese. Why it doesn't go further? Okay. So we looked at the antibacterial activity. We optimized the conditions of the culture of the bacteria to produce the peptides. And then, why is this? Yeah, it's a block again. Why it's blocked? Okay. Why is this? Okay, so we looked at the peptides that have indeed activity against gram-negative and gram-positive, but not very high activity. So we combine them with nanoparticles, and you will see that's the most important aspect. You see the initial MIC value of these peptides is about 1,000. However, when we combine them with nanoparticles, you see we divide by 250, and sometimes it's even by 500, okay? So what it tells you, not only I improve the activity of these peptides, but also I reduce the amount I can use to the level where it becomes even more active than colistin, okay? And this indeed gives all the hope. We patented this, and now we're developing through a startup, indeed, how we can commercialize this product, okay? Again, this is a cytotoxicity. When you combine with nanoparticles, you see you have a very nice, indeed, something which is not cytotoxic at all, okay? Now, okay, why it's, okay. I'll give you another example. You know, now we make the nanoparticles by top-down approach. Now we're gonna make the nanoparticles by bottom-up. It means by mixing different things, and which are molecules, simple molecules. You can see here triglycerides, phospholipids, polyethylene glycol. Just mix them, and by heating and decreasing the temperature to a certain level, then I can make also nanocapsules. It's called lipid nanocapsules because the anterior here, it's hydrophobic. It means I can encapsulate anything which is hydrophobic, which is not water soluble. And the outside is hydrophilic. Because the outside is hydrophilic, then they are very much perceivable, okay? Looking at this, it's very easy, the way you make them. Okay. You see, you mix all the things together. Then you have, we have oil and water. Initially, you have what you call water in oil, but then you reverse this by heating and then have what you call oil in water dispersion. And this is exactly what you call the liquid nanocapsules. You can see I can control very nicely the size, 25, 50, 100 nanometers by just adjusting the different components. There's 3 different components by just adjusting the appropriate ratio of that. More importantly, these nanocapsules are very stable. If you leave them in water, milky water, you see about 30 days. There is no variation in their size. They will remain exactly the same. However, in seawater, you see there's slightly an increase of the size. It means they're not as stable as they are in water. It's normal because seawater, you have a huge amount of salt, but you have also other metal ions and bacteria and a lot of things. So potentially there is a slight increase, but up to 15 days, there is almost hardly, a change in their diameter, okay? So what we did with this, just to show you, indeed, now it's an animal again. Before it was in pigs, now it's in a natural medium. Fish larvae will eat these copypods, okay? It's their feed to grow. Now, if these copypods, you can find them either in the clean water, but it could be also, also mostly in the seawater as well. But if these now copypods are heavy copypods, they will eat something which has already something toxic inside. It means you transfer through the food chain the pollutant to the fish larvae. Then the fish larvae develops and becomes bigger. It is potentially that the pollutant stays in the fish when it becomes adult. And then when you eat the fish, potentially you also eat the pollutant, okay? So we want to see how the nanoparticles can impact pollutants. So first we said, well, can we use really these nanocapsules I showed you here, because they're stable up to 10 days here in the seawater. I prepared the nanocapsules. I add just this dye, it's a fluorescent dye, which emits here about 600, which is exactly 565. We have a very nice color now here. So when I formulate this, I have nanocapsules which are completely fluorescent. Without this dye, they're again not fluorescent, okay? Now I expose the small copypods. I expose them to these nanocapsules, and you see after a few hours, you see the color, okay? Inside the copypods. It means these copypods ingest the nanocapsules. What it means, if I incubate copypods in the presence of nanoparticles, the copypods eat nanoparticles. Now, what happened if if there is a big amount of these pollutants in the seawater, you kill mostly all the fish that would indeed be exposed to a high concentration of these pollutants. So we wanted to know if now, and these pollutants are not water dispersible, okay? So we took this paper, who showed indeed they use this, what we call
Professor Abah, are you still with us? So we apologize for another technical issue. Yeah. We need to wait for another minute. Oh, udah.
It's okay?
Okay, Professor Abah, you may continue your presentation.
Okay, thank you. I will go to the agriculture because otherwise, yeah, okay. It's how to use nanoparticles to improve the solubility of hydrophobic drugs, to improve the performance of antimicrobial peptides, okay? And reduce their amount. It means you reduce the cost. Now you can do exactly the same in the agriculture. So the first what I did this morning, I looked indeed how many papers. I didn't check for the patents. If you search on Web of Science, there's with keywords nanotechnology in agriculture, and I got about almost 3,000 results. More importantly, you see the use of nanotechnology in agriculture. It's quite actually, it started early, I would say 2010, okay? But now the number of papers is getting increasingly every year, about 500 papers, but also the number of citations. But of course, if you have much higher publications, you have forcing the much higher number of citations. Just what I wanted to say from this slide is that indeed there's a real interest in using nanotechnology in agriculture. So what type of nanoparticles used in agriculture, okay, or in plant sciences? So mostly you will find metallic nanoparticles, specifically iron, zinc oxide, gold, silver, or carbon-based materials or polymer-based materials and their composites. Okay, and you can see the different applications for the metal or metal oxide nanoparticles. Often it's antimicrobial activity, particularly for zinc oxide and silver, but also to deliver nutrients and for enhancing the chlorophyll synthesis or pathogen control, but also the availability of improving the availability of the macronutrient. Because when you put ever a macronutrient, of course, on nanoparticles, the release would be much slower, so you have a much higher bio or availability, okay? The carbon, including carbon nanotubes, graphene, oxide and fluorines, it's essentially actually to enhance the water and nutrient uptake, because these are hydrophilic materials that will actually enhance the water uptake by the plants, okay? But also they can be used to modulate the oxidative stress. Also for delivery as well of different components. And in certain cases, I will not probably cover this aspect, it's on biosensing. Biosensing is very important in agriculture if you want to make what you call precision agriculture. Okay, so and that will call indeed for a big number of different sensors of water, of pH, of different molecules, of the UV and everything, and that's really important. And I will show you just an example on that, how you can use indeed these sensors for precision agriculture. Importantly, and this is where I think I would spend more of the time, is the polymer nanoparticles. Why polymer nanoparticles? Because they are biocompatible, biodegradable. It means you can use as much as you want without harming potentially the plants or the soil. This is not the case for metal nanoparticles. If you use too much of these metal nanoparticles, then potentially either you change the composition of the soil if you have accumulation, but also it can potentially become toxic to the soil and the bacteria in the soil. So this is really something that could be used probably at a very small amount, especially silver and gold. Silver is known to be cytotoxic as well. However, the polymer nanoparticles, and particularly the agro-sourced like chitosan or alginate or starch, are actually much better because they are biodegradable, biocompatible, and some of them actually they have antimicrobial properties, specifically chitosan, okay? And those are often actually applied for slow release of nutrients or pesticides or growth regulators or fertilizers. Pest management, I will give you something indeed in this on this aspect. Okay, nanomaterials in agriculture also are used to enhance the plant growth, but also the abiotic stress resistance. And how does that work? Indeed, you can either enhance the water retention. For instance, if you use carbon-based material, but also could be metal organic frameworks, they can actually, or some of the gels based on nanoparticles from alginate or from chitosan or from starch, they can swell. It means they will actually be able to absorb a huge amount of water. And that's really important for drought adaptations. And indeed, this is really important for plants if you're in areas where you don't have a lot of water. So we can use this indeed to store the water and only release a small amount or when needed. You can also, some of these nanomaterials maintain ionic balance. It means then the plant could adapt to the salinity, the change of the salinity. And the mechanism indeed that goes, it reduces the sodium, mostly sodium chloride, you know, that's exactly about 3.5% in seawater, but by increasing the potassium absorption, okay? Also mitigation of the oxidative stress. Some of the particles actually can remove the heavy metals or absorb the heavy metals, and that's in this, you have a detoxify the environment or the soil from heavy metals. So all of those indeed will conduct to increase the resilience, but also to the improved growth and yields of the plants. Okay? Another aspect you can use indeed when you use nanoparticles, especially polymer-based nanoparticles, it's really the enhance here they can, you know, you have different nanoparticles of different polymers. They can easily penetrate the plant cells through different mechanisms. Of course, you can check. I mean, the literature is really rich on that. You know, such as diffusion, osmosis, active transport. That, of course, will depend on the size, but also on the nature and the charge of the particle. So it means if I want to just select one way of penetration, then I can play with the composition of the material, with the composition of the nanoparticle in a way it goes that way, not that way. So you see, when you do, and you have really knowledge of the nanoparticles and the way they act, the mechanism, then I can easily design nanoparticles that are suitable for this or suitable for that. Okay, this is the huge, really importance of knowing the nanotechnology, but also the surface chemistry of the different nanomaterials. And indeed, then you can you see that you can stimulate the plant defense through this, of course, ROS generation and everything. So there are a lot of things, or the antimicrobial resistance. So this is really just to give you some examples on this. Especially, this is just particles based on polymers, as I said, because they're biodegradable, because they're biocompatible. You see, you can use your alginate, chitosan, a mixture with pectin, gum arabic here, lignin, silica as well. But silica is not really, I would say, although silica is biodegradable, it will, with over time, decompose and generate salicylic acid. You don't want to enrich your soil with sand, then it becomes like a desert, okay? So this, I think, is really could be used, but really at a given and a smaller amount, depending on the application, okay? So these are, you can find the different encapsulated molecules here. The nanoparticles are used to encapsulate either essential oils, but it could be different drugs, essential oils, drugs, everything. But you can see, indeed, depending on what it is targeted, either to improve the antibacterial activity. This is against the activity of this fungi, or to release some insecticides or fungi drugs, antifungal drugs. So you see there are a lot of different applications depending on the particle, but also depending on the encapsulated molecule. So whenever you talk about agriculture, and you have the drug or the active component, you have the nanoparticles. And this is really important to use these polymeric nanoparticles because they will be somehow degraded in the soil and they will not cause any harm to the plant, okay? You have also nanofibers, cellulosic-based nanofibers, lignin, they're all biocompatible, and you can see it depends also on the drug you want. Or it could be copper. Copper is known indeed as an antifungal, so that you want indeed to improve the performance by reducing the amount of copper through the complexation with fibers, okay? It's the same. You can use lipid nanoparticles and metal and actually composite of metals and biopolymers. But again, just to be careful, indeed, when you use silver, silver is potentially cytotoxic, but also can actually imbalance the bacteria you can find in the soil, because it's not selective. It will kill all the bacteria, independent of their good bacteria for the plant or bad bacteria. And that's really problematic. So because what we want to do, indeed, you want something that would kill the pathogenic, the bad bacteria, but would enhance the growth of the good bacteria. And in this respect, silver is not really something which is recommendable for that. People used it because it's known for a long time. Silver is used for treating bacterial infections, especially for the skin. In medical devices, you use silver ions for treating that. But there's definitely a toxicity issue when using silver. One has really to be careful on the concentration. One is using the frequency of treatment and everything. But also you can use, as I showed previously, lipid polysaccharides here to provide, like vitamin C, quercetin, curcumin, and different drugs to the plant, depending indeed what is the what's the application behind and what is the targeted disease. Okay, one other aspect, and I think I will go slightly faster on this, it's the using again polysaccharides or biopolymer based nanoparticles for gene silencing. You know, during COVID, our vaccines was based on the lipid nanoparticles for delivering RNA, because RNA it's actually very sensitive to enzymes and degradation. So you have to protect that. And one way to protect in this is to encapsulate this RNA inside polysaccharides and nanoparticles. And this way you enhance the stability. Yes? Okay. So this is one example, and I show you that the target, of course, what you want, you target the genes of different viruses to reduce the transmission of plant viral diseases. This is really the vertical transmission, because this could cause big damage, especially for a lot of plants, in particular for vineyards, where you have to remove completely the whole area of your vineyard if you have any viral infection. This is, again, as I said previously, you can use the nanoparticles to deliver herbicides. Polysaccharide, again, it's important because this is, again, it's biocompatible, it's not toxic to the plant itself. You can see it's always the same: gelatin, Arabic gum, dextrine, chitosan, lignin. This is always the same, a different used to deliver the herbicides, okay? And what you have, it's an increase of the stability of the drug. It means also you have a long-term release of the herbicides, and that increases because you increase the stability through the encapsulation into the nanoparticle. You can do the same with insecticides. Again, what's happening indeed that you improve the release, but also the efficacy and the performance of these herbicides through encapsulation with nanoparticles. It means you reduce the amount of herbicides. That's very important for nature, because most of these herbicides actually have harmful effects, both for the soil, but also for human being or animal beings, okay? And antimicrobial, this is really important to fight indeed against pathogenic bacteria. And as I said previously, you can use some of this essential oil component like thymol here, also garlic acid. Again, people use silver, but as I said, with this one has really to be careful in the amount and the long-term toxicity of the silver. This probably a few slides only before I can wrap up this presentation. It's on the work we have been doing in probably the last 4 or 5 years in collaboration with people from the Institute of Agriculture. You see, in the north of France, we have a lot of apples, but we have always a lot of fungi. You know, this is Venturi inicollis here, and you can see how the quality, the degradation of the quality of the apples. And at the time when I contacted my colleagues, I told them, well, look, guys, probably if we nanoformulate the existing drugs or new drugs against or antifungi with antifungal activity, then probably we can improve the performance and reduce the amount. What we have done actually in the last 3 years. I'm sorry, I cannot give you exactly the name of the. We used essential oil A and call them O because it's under patenting. So there is something I cannot really give much more details. But what we took, indeed, we take 2 different essential oils for 2 different sources, and we combine them with either starch nanoparticle or alginate nanoparticles. That's as simple as it is. You just absorb the essential oils on the nanoparticles. And of course, we took copper sulfate as the control because this is known and used in a common treatment as an antifungal, okay? So these are just the conditions, the different conditions we have used. But what's important, I wanted just to show you that whenever we combine, this is the essential oil alone, but when it's combined with nanoparticles, you see, we reduce the amount we apply, always, you see. And this is important, even alginate nanoparticles gives even much better results. It means this We can explain this because probably some of the components, they absorb much better on alginate than starch, but definitely the alginate nanoparticles with the essential oil A gives much better results than the alginate with a essential oil O. So then we can determine the IC50 values, and we can see if you use just the essential oil here, they're about 400 milligram per ml. However, when we combine this with the nanoparticles, we can reduce at least by half, even more, depending, of course, on the, if you use alginate nanoparticles, it works even much better in both cases. So why the selectivity, or why silver alginate nanoparticles give much better results? This we still have to dig a little bit in to understand why. Then we looked indeed if when we use this essential oils combined with nanoparticles, if we really stimulate the defense genes, and indeed it's exactly what we see here. Not for PR2, yes, here the alginate nanoparticles with essential O works much better, but for the PCT here, it seems that whether the you see it's not the same. The one that gave better results here doesn't work the same. So just to tell you, probably indeed when you consider all these things, probably we have to mix both A and O, or you have to add something because you don't indeed stimulate the same genes. So, but it's really important to understand what's happening when you use different essential O's and nanoparticles. Okay, the last one, because I think I took too much and too longer because of this cutting, is how to use nanoparticles in precision agriculture to advance sustainable crop production. And here, as I told you here, nanotechnology becomes really crucial because you can have indeed different sensors to monitor the UV, to monitor the water content, but also some of the pathogens you can encounter indeed in the plants. And this, it's very nicely now, especially because you can get the response from the device. You can connect to your iPhone or to your tablet here, and then you have exactly what's happening in real time, and you can monitor that over a large area of your field and know exactly what's happening. If there's any disease that could be detected very early because most of the sensors are really sensitive, and then you can take the appropriate action in a time and the right moment. With this, I think I just want to conclude. I think the message I want just that you take home is that using nanotechnology is certainly something which is today, it's evident, and it has shown indeed that there is an interest and beneficial for agriculture in many respects and many aspects. Whether you use the actual treatment, then when you combine the drugs or the pesticides, fertilizers, whatever you want, with nanoparticles, you reduce the amount. This is very important. Other aspects, some of the nanoparticles themselves, they have beneficial effects, either on the bad fungi, but also they can enhance the good bacteria in the soil. Some of them are not. So, of course, you have to do a systematic study. Now, indeed, there are a lot of things that one has to understand. It's the mechanism of action of these nanoparticles. What's happening with these nanoparticles over time? Are they degraded? Are they actually, do they accumulate? In which form? Are they metabolized? So all these things, indeed, one has to study over time to see indeed what's happening to this nanoparticle within months, years. Some it's much more obvious, like any organic-based nanoparticles, because potentially they will be degraded in the soil. But for metal and metal oxide, indeed, it's potentially will have an accumulation of the metal in the site, in the soil, and that could be also harmful for the plant over a long run in the soil. With this, yeah, this is just our group probably a few years ago already, because a lot of people left already. So with this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I would be happy indeed to answer any questions if you have either about this presentation, but in general about using nanotechnology in agriculture. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Professor, for the excellent presentations. Halo, ada ya? Echo. Okay, we have seen several examples of nanotechnology-based
Can you hear question from Dr. Dwi, Prof. Rabah?
So far, I didn't hear
Prof.
any
Rabah?
question. Now I can hear.
It's clear. It's clear. It's clear. Hmm.
No, I didn't hear anything. No.
Okay.
Maybe in the chat, if you send by the chat, probably would be easier. I don't know.
Okay. Can you hear me, Professor? Halo. Atau yang share yang chat itu biar saya chat lagi ketik di sini ya.
Okay. What is the potential of nano-based smart packaging in monitoring food freshness or detecting spoilage? Yes, of course. This is very important indeed to use, and there are a lot of studies. Or I cannot tell you whether they are products or not. It's okay. You can hear me now?
Yes, bro.
Yes. So yes, smart packaging is something I didn't address in my presentation, but definitely yes, nanotechnology brings a lot of advantages in using the smart packaging for monitoring food freshness and detecting spoilage. Yeah,
Okay.
because that way, indeed, if you can detect earlier, you can reduce the loss of the foods or fruits, whatever it is. Fully agree. Definitely, there are a lot of studies, whether they're products on the market or not. This I cannot really tell you. Earlier, you can reduce the loss of fully agree.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Then the next question, bro. Second question is from Fikratul Isan, University of Riau. How can nanotechnology transform the food supply chain into the transparent and the efficient system?
How can nanotechnology transform the food supply chain into a more transparent? Yes, I think if you can trace the food itself, indeed, from the beginning to the end, that indeed it will become something which is transparent. And I think potentially using the by combining sensors, but also by actually combine that with artificial intelligence, certainly you will be able to control and also the full food supply chain. I think this is possible indeed. That it will not be something which is completely complicated. It's exactly like the same when we talk about the precision for agriculture. The same way could be applied indeed for the food supply chain.
Okay, thank you, Prof. The next, any question from the participant?
Ini chat bisa deh.
From the last chat, Prof, the third question.
Ini bisa.
Can you open the chat? It's from Dr. Dwi Ristiadi.
Oh.
This one, Prof. The last question, I think, in our presentation.
Okay, for the explanation we have. Thank you. My question is how to take out this function agriculture application, can they also help reduce pests and resistance and pest proposition as could you explain how they make it? Oh yes, indeed. There are a lot of indeed studies in field applications, and it is very important point indeed to not just do in vitro experiments or under controlled conditions. Performing the experiments under real conditions, where you have the UV or you have the sun, you have wind, you have a rain, definitely is very, very important. So it means whatever worked. The interruption. You can hear me now? Yes? You can hear me?
Yes, Prof. We clearly hear you, Prof. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So what I said, indeed, it's really important indeed to perform these experiments on fields, not just in vitro conditions or controlled conditions. From my personal experience, when we studied the this essential oils with nanoparticles, we had good results in vitro and antifungal activity. And then when we tried on fields, we didn't see any activity. And the reason, of course, even with the control, of course, positive control, of course, there was nothing. Because it was the year, there was not much disease. So, yes, so you're happy when you do the experiments in vivo, but indeed in vitro, but on field, it's the most indeed appropriate way to check whether indeed there is a gain or there's no gain. But definitely the reason why it will be a gain, because for a lot of molecules, when they are absorbed on the nanoparticles, they will be more stable. And the release will be much slower. So definitely the benefit will be there. Now, you can only say this indeed if you demonstrate that on field. Otherwise, yes, it's really hard to believe. And also, I think you cannot convince anyone if you just tell him, I did in vitro, it works very nicely, but I never tried on field. So the mechanism is so simple, actually. When you look all about the nanotechnology, why nanotechnology improves the performance, because what's happening when you have a nanoparticle, either the drug, if it's an antifungal or it's a pesticide or fertilizer, whatever you put on the nanoparticle, on surface or inside the nanoparticle, its stage from the degradation, it's much more resistant, whether it's UV, whether it could be any other type enzymatic from bacteria, it becomes much more actually stable. This is one thing. The second thing is, because on the nanoparticle, you have a high surface area, so you can load a very large amount of the drug. It means if you have like an antifungal, even the fungi only meets a few particles, it's enough to kill. While when you put just the antifungal drug in water, it will disperse. So then you need to use much larger amount. So that's why when we use nanoparticles, you concentrate everything on a smaller particle. It means that only a few particles are enough to kill either bacteria or any microbe. So that's the mechanism. And also the nanoparticles can easily penetrate through in the cells or the tissue, and they can also then carry the load with the drug inside the cell or inside the tissue. So that's very known and very well documented mode of action, or why nanoparticles often actually do improve the performance or the activity of a known drug. You concentrate a lot on a small particle. When you concentrate a lot, it means it's like, instead of having dispersed where the concentration will be very low, here I have a much higher concentration on a small particle.
Okay. Thank you very much, thank you very much, Professor, for the insightful presentation. Okay. At the same time, I have been reminded of the importance can support equitable access to safe and nutritious food. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like express our deepest appreciation for Professor Rabah Bukeru for his valuable time and inspiring keynote address. We also thank all participants who joined us live, as well as our technical and organizing teams behind the scenes. And we hope that today's session will encourage future collaboration between researchers, policymaker, industry, and a civil society working toward sustainable and equitable future food system. Thank you once again for your participation. We wish you all the pleasant day or evening or wherever you are. Thank you very much, Professor Abba Bukerup. And
Thank you
I
so much for your
to the
invitation.
MC.
Thank you. There is one more question. Yeah.
Attention for all parties. Yeah. Before we close the today webinar, we would like to give Professor Rabah Bukherup a certificate by Mr. Dwi Ristiadi, SP MSc PhD.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Rabah. Please accept our certificate as appreciation from us for Professor Rabah. We hope we can continue collaboration. Thank you, Prof. Rabah, for
Thank you so much.
insight for this presentation. This is our certificate of appreciation. We hope we can do more collaboration for the future with University of Jambi. I am Adia Nizori, Chairperson of PATPI, and also on behalf of Director of Postgraduate Policy Jambi, we thank you very much for the very nice presentation, and we hope someday we'll see you Jambi in Indonesia. Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your invitation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Adionizori. Before we close the today webinar, all participants need to open their camera. We will do photograph session.
Foto saya itu
Foto session.
Ya.
foto session. Nah, foto session itu kayak mana?
Ya, di kamera aja, foto kamera aja.
Saya tidak pernah kuliah online.
Oh ya, enggak foto di screenshot aja.
Tuh Kak Dewi, aku
sama
tidak
itu.
pernah kuliah online, enggak ngerti.
Okay, everyone's ready.
Kita menyerahkan gini ya.
Iya. Ibu kerja foto. Oke. Ya.
Okay. One. For the first slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Wait.
Another shot. Yeah.
Next slide. We will take some photo. Yeah, prepare yourself. Open the camera. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now for the third slide, get ready to open the camera. Okay, everyone's ready? 1, 2, 3. Fourth slide. Okay. 1, 2,
Pertama, kedua, ketiga.
3.
Ini
Ada
yang
6,
difoto
Pak.
ya.
6. Okay. We have a lot of participants ya.
Oh, berarti setiap
Okay, fourth slide. Next, we do the fifth slide. Everyone get ready. 1, 2, 3.
Aku di foto tidak ngerti aku. Apa sih di foto ini?
Okay, for the last one, the last slide. Yeah, everyone get ready. Open your camera. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you, Professor Rabah.
Thank you, Professor Rabah, for the insightful presentation.
Thank you, Rabah. Have a good day. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
See you, Jambi. Now.
Thank you.
We will move to the next session, the closing session. Thank our speaker, moderator, committee, and all participants for today. For me, let me recite a pantun. Pergi ke pasar membeli mangga. Tak lupa membeli roti coklat. Walau nano kecil ukurannya, semoga dampaknya besar dan bermanfaat. Thus conclude the entire series of today webinar. I, Medina Alia Rahmawati, as the Master of Ceremonies, would like to thank everyone. Apologize for any mistake or shortcoming. Good afternoon. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera.
Salam warahmatullahi.
Santi Santiom, Namo Buddhaya. Salam kebajikan.
Saya pikir menyerahkan sertifikat itu saya pikir kayak gini.
Iya Pak, kayaknya kita perlu pertama-tama untuk MTIP. Iya Pak.
Iya iya.
Iya Pak. Ya, saya menyerah pas kain satu. Lagi lengkap Pak ketua yang Pak sekretaris kan? Bu ketuanya.
Lu bingung belum orang menyerahkan sertifikat ini maksudnya menyerahkan tangan gini atau kayak apa? Kayak saya kan ngasih korek gini.
Oh saya penyerahan. Kalau jadi langsung kayak ada di berapa? Iya. Itulah.